The Dragon Country, a nation always known for keeping its doors wide open, suddenly announced it was sealing its borders. Every ongoing construction project came to a screeching halt, and the entire country threw its full strength into building 34 steel cities. At the same time, they launched an emergency recruitment drive for 8 million soldiers, and the whole army snapped into level 1 combat mode.
Western countries panicked. Of course they did. But here's the thing. They had no idea why any of this was happening. All they could do was complain, throw accusations around, run angry headlines through the media. And just like that, the Dragon Country became the only topic anyone on Blue Star was talking about. But the questions kept coming. The pressure kept building. And the Dragon Country, usually so calm, so patient, dropped that attitude completely. They started shutting down interference directly. No warnings, no diplomacy, just action, because they'd found out something. Something massive. In exactly 1 week, the mythological era was arriving. Gods, demons, countless of them, all about to descend on Blue Star. And here's where it gets strange. I know all of this because of a spam text. It landed in my junk folder like garbage always does. Tale number 8848. Congratulations, user. You've qualified for the only closed beta test before the mythological era begins. Make your first recharge of 648 and receive a legendary profession. I almost deleted it without a second thought. My thumb was literally an inch from the trash icon. Then my phone stopped listening to me. It downloaded the game. It opened the game, all on its own. I mashed every button I had. Nothing worked. Was this a virus? I was 1 second from switching it off completely when suddenly, out of nowhere, this deep cinematic music started blasting from my speakers, and the screen filled with beasts. Terrifying, bizarre, unbelievably detailed beasts. The graphics looked real. Not good for a mobile game real. Actually real. I just sat there, frozen. This looks better than anything on the market, I remember thinking. Then another notice popped up. Respected beta player, congratulations. You have activated your beta qualification. This game was created personally by the heavenly Tao consciousness of the mythological era. This is humanity's last chance to survive what's coming. The mythological era arrives in exactly 7 days. After that, beta access will be revoked, and the game will shut down permanently. Then came the part that made my stomach drop. Players' in-game character power will transfer 100% into their real body. However, for the first 6 days, only 10% of your character's basic stats will feed into your real body daily, until the morning of day 7, when full power transfers. My head was spinning. Was this real? Genuinely real? I had nothing better to do, so why not? I started playing. The story was simple enough. Alien beasts had invaded, and humanity was fighting back by awakening professions. Professions split into 3 types: combat, lifestyle, and support. And within those, a ladder: normal, advanced, rare, legendary, and finally mythical. Above even that sat a small handful of hidden professions, so rare, so exclusive, most people would never see one in their lifetime. When I looked back at the screen, my character had already generated itself. Same face, same name, mine, exactly. That's when the fear really set in, because if the character was this accurate, maybe everything else was true too. 7 p.m. In a few hours I'd know for certain. I followed the game's instructions to the profession draw pool, a privilege only beta players had. Regular people out there in the real world would only get 1 shot during the actual awakening, and once you locked in a profession, that was it. For life, the first draw was free. After that, you needed coins, or you needed to pay. I hit the free draw. Congratulations, player. You have drawn the normal profession. Farmer, a lifestyle profession. Once activated, you will possess incredible talent in agriculture. I laughed. Of course, nothing free is ever good. Fine. Let's put some money on the table. I opened the recharge mall. Over 10 tiers of gift packs. 68, 98, 128, 328, 648, and climbing. I did the math. Buy enough of these, and I'd land somewhere around 500 draws. The higher packs even threw in level up experience fills. Being careful with money, I started small. 8 packs at 68 each. 70 draws. 2.5 minutes later, I understood exactly how cruel this game was willing to be. 70 chances. 2 rare results. Both lifestyle professions. Not one single combat draw worth anything. Gritting my teeth, I bought 3 more packs at 128 each. Walked to the bathroom. Splashed water on my face. Came back and drew again. 80 more draws. The best of the bunch? A legendary profession. Healer nanny. I was shaking with rage at that point. And then, just as I'd given up all hope, the music changed. Gold light exploded across the screen. Congratulations, player. You have drawn the mythical profession. Heroic spirit summoner. A combat profession. You may summon the spirits of fallen heroes to fight beside you. 1 additional spirit unlocked every 10 levels. I stared at that description for a long moment. Then I clicked draw again. Here's the thing. Mythical was supposed to be the top tier, but regular people could awaken into one too, given the chance. And out of everyone on Blue Star, I was the only one holding this game right now. If I settled for just 1 mythical profession, wouldn't that almost be an insult to the opportunity? I needed at least 1 hidden profession. Just 1. Money was the only thing standing in the way, and I still had some left, so I made the call. I spent every remaining coin I had, all at once. Then I drew like a madman. Whoever's up there watching must have seen the effort, because suddenly, colorful blades started falling from the sky above my character, throwing sharp shadows across the screen. Congratulations, player. You have drawn the hidden profession. Chaos Swordmaster, a combat profession. Upon binding, you will receive the Chaos Sword body. Double experience gained from killing alien beasts. All sword path skills will awaken automatically. Sword skill effects increased by 100%. Every ounce of tension in my body vanished the moment I read that. I'd actually pulled it. I had no idea if there was anything stronger out there, but by now my wallet was completely empty. 10 draws left. And someone as unlucky as me? I wasn't getting anything better than this, so I hit bind. Immediately. Respected beta player Chen Yu, congratulations. You are now a Chaos Swordmaster. You have received the Chaos Sword body. You have awakened a special element sword skill. Link Young Sword Slash. Reading that on my screen, I don't think I've ever felt that kind of joy. First real pull, and I land a special element skill. I was lucky after all. Without wasting a second, I dumped every experience fill I'd earned straight into my character. Level 1, gone. Level 40, instantly. A few moments later, the profession panel opened. Name Chen Yu. Profession, Chaos Swordmaster. Level 40. Power 10767. Spirit 2852. Equipment none. Skills special type Link Young Sword Slash, Ice type Frozen Miles, Thunder type, Sword God Thunder, Dark type Dark Domain Destruction, Profession Talent, locks until level 50. I nodded, satisfied. Here's something you need to understand. A normal human's power, physique, and spirit stats top out at 10 points. 10. That's the ceiling. And then my stomach growled, loud enough to break my concentration. I checked the time, almost 8 p.m. I set my character to auto-farm dungeons for experience and went to actually feed myself. But something was eating at me the whole time I was eating. In the last hour alone, I'd burned through roughly 9,000 rupees on this game. 9,000. For someone making 4,000 a month, that number was insane. I didn't have the nerve to spend another rupee. If this whole thing turned out to be fake, I was ruined. Completely. And there was no way to know, not until midnight, whether any of this power was actually going to transfer into my real body. Worrying wasn't going to change anything. The game kept leveling up on its own, and I had nothing left to do but read, so I went back through every detail of the game. The full profession level system laid out like this. Basic, 100 levels. True King, Legendary, Holy Venerable, Mythical Monarch, and above even Mythical Monarch, a level called Starry Sky Emperor. Grayed out. Locked. I couldn't even see what it required yet. Then there was them all. Endless gift packs, some priced high enough to make my head spin. One luxury VIP pack contained exactly one item, an awakening stone, something that could accelerate a real-world awakening. Its price? 1,100 crore. If the mythological era was actually coming, that price wasn't even unreasonable. People with real money would line up around the block for something like that. I opened pack after pack after that, just to look. Some of it made my mouth water. All of it was priced completely out of reach. My entire life savings wouldn't cover a corner of what these packs cost. After that, I opened the Beast Guide. It didn't cover every type out there, clearly, but there was still an overwhelming amount of information packed into it. Some beasts were listed at Mythical Monarch level, with powers that didn't even make sense to me. It felt less like reading a game guide, and more like flipping through a bestiary from another world entirely. And then, heart absolutely pounding, midnight hit. The second the clock struck 12, a voice came through the phone. Respected beta player Chen, congratulations. You reached level 45 on your very first day. Your real body will now be fed 10% of your character's basic stats. 10%. My character's stats were sitting in the thousands. Even 10% of that was still triple digits. Against a normal human ceiling of 10 points, these numbers wouldn't just make me strong. They'd make me untouchable on this entire planet. Then the light hit. My whole room lit up gold. Threads of shimmering light gathered in the air, and then surged, like a storm, straight into my body. The relief that hit me was so overwhelming I nearly screamed out loud. I could feel it, actually feel it. Every cell in my body filling up, charging with power I had no name for. Something massive was surging through me. Even my skin, dull, sallow, tired looking for years, turned smooth, clear, almost glowing, and that was just 10%. A steel dummy just took a hit that cratered the wall behind it. Every scientist in that room stopped breathing, and in about 10 seconds they were all going to realize the same terrifying thing. I wasn't human anymore. But let's back up a few hours first. I could feel it now. I was strong. Genuinely, undeniably strong. The problem was, I had no idea how strong. So I got up, walked into the kitchen, grabbed a fruit knife, and slammed it into my own leg as hard as I could. The knife shattered. My leg didn't have a scratch. I actually laughed out loud. I'd hit the jackpot. And this was only day one. Only 10%. What happens when the rest comes in? After that, my kitchen didn't stand a chance. I crushed a steel pot into a ball with one hand, snapped a kitchen knife between two fingers. Even the steel scouring pad, the one for scrubbing pots, turned into a twisted wire the second I closed my fist around it, test after test. And my racing heart finally started to settle, because now it was confirmed. The end of the world was real. And here's the thing about the mythological era, yes, it might be humanity's shot at becoming gods. But before that, it was going to be a catastrophe. Even the biggest countries, the ones sitting on nuclear arsenals, weren't ready for a sudden invasion like this. Whether nukes could even kill these beasts was a separate question entirely. The initial impact alone would be more than Blue Star could survive. And now that I had this power, I couldn't just sit back and watch my country get torn apart. Besides, if I got the government's backing, my level was going to skyrocket in this 1 week. There was no way I could level myself up fast enough alone, not even with every coin I could scrape together. I didn't sleep that night, not 1 minute. Too wired. The next morning, I went straight to find someone, an old real estate client of mine, now the director at the Tianhai City Hall office. Word was she came from serious family connections. I figured if I couldn't rely on some past life memory or hidden knowledge, the next best thing was to plug straight into a network of powerful people and work together. So I told her everything. The whole story, start to finish. She just smiled. A mocking little smile. You've got some nerve. Messing with a government official? Have you lost your mind? She called security. Wanted me thrown out on the spot. Honestly, I wasn't even surprised. Anyone hearing that story cold would react exactly the same way. Director Lin, I can prove it. She paused. Arms crossed, leaned back in her chair, studying me like I was something dangerous or something pathetic. She hadn't decided yet. Fine, prove it. I looked around the office, walked over to a heavy solid wood table sitting off to the side, looked her straight in the eye, kept my voice completely calm. This is the power I was given. I didn't even finish the sentence before the table exploded into dust under one open-handed slap. I figured that alone wouldn't be enough, so I turned toward a safe in the corner, walked over, and put one straight punch into it, left a crater in solid steel. If I hadn't been worried about bringing down the whole building, I would have torn that entire wall apart too. Her eyes went wide. Sweat broke out across her face. She had the right connections to know some things most people didn't, that martial artists actually existed in this world. She'd personally seen men who could drop 10 opponents without breaking a sweat. But next to what she'd just watched, those men were nothing. She went quiet. I could tell doubt was still sitting somewhere in her head. I couldn't show you my real power in here, I said, stepping closer. What I actually have is far more dangerous than this. Her breathing picked up. What I'd just shown her was already enough to terrify most people, and it was only a fraction of what I actually had. If Chen had power like that, then everything he said about the mythological era coming was real too. Her face filled with fear and questions. Even if I believe you, you. What exactly do you want? I want to work with the country. There's only a week left, sure. But if the whole nation puts its weight behind this, a week is enough to change everything. She thought about it, thought hard, then finally picked up her desk phone and dialed. She didn't know her grandfather's real identity, not fully. But in a moment like this, there was only one person worth calling. She laid everything out for him, then handed me the phone. A deep, gravelly old voice came through. Hello, Chen. Is everything you told her 100% true? It's true. And beyond what's happened to my body, I have other ways to prove it. But I need the country's support. Besides my granddaughter, has anyone else heard this? No. I left this morning before telling anyone else. Director Lin is the only person I've spoken to. Alright, stay put. I'm sending someone to bring you in. The call cut. On the other end, Lin Shan's face went dead serious. He was pushing 70, and this was the strangest thing he'd ever heard in his life. But this was a matter of national scale. Even a 1% chance of it being true couldn't be ignored. If he let this slip through his fingers and the country paid for it, he'd be the man history blamed. He barked at his assistant. Get the car. I need a meeting with the top brass. Now. Meanwhile, back in the office, I was getting a little bored, so I pulled out my phone and reopened the game. My level had already climbed to 50. A new message popped up. Congratulations, player Chen Shan. Your profession has reached level 50. The talent extraction pool is now open. You may randomly draw talents before reaching king rank. Your profession can bind a maximum of 5 talents. Once bound, a talent cannot be removed. Profession skills training has also unlocked, along with the fierce rank dungeon. Clearing this dungeon rewards skill scrolls. Scrolls may also be purchased from the mall. My eyes lit up. I opened the mall immediately, then my face fell. The most basic talent gift pack alone was 300,000 coins. The advanced ones went straight up to 1 million. I genuinely wanted to curse whoever designed this pricing. Half a lifetime of hard-earned savings, and I couldn't even afford a fraction of one basic talent pack. Forget buying a house. This was worse. The skill scrolls were even more depressing. The lowest quality white scroll ran a full 1,000,000 coins. I didn't even have the courage to tap on them in the shop. I was still mourning my own poverty when I heard a knock at the door. About 10 soldiers in full military dress walked in, marched straight up to me and saluted. Mr. Chen, please come with us. Director Lin, you'll need to come as well. Apologies for the inconvenience. I stood, returned the salute, and walked out without a second's hesitation. Out in the corridor, more than 20 armed soldiers, standing at full readiness. I figured that was already heavy security. Then I stepped outside. More than 10 armored vehicles lined up in a row outside the building. 2 helicopters circling low overhead. Every surrounding street sealed off completely. Civilians pushed back and held at a distance. Seeing the country react like this, that's when real fear finally settled into my chest. Because nobody, not one person, actually knew what the mythological era would look like when it arrived. And time was running out fast. Even if the entire nation threw everything it had at this, saving everyone wasn't going to be possible. No one could guess how much destruction was coming. The second I got in the car, I started running through plans in my head. Anything to slow down what was coming. Funny when you think about it. A few days ago I was a nobody office worker. Now I was carrying the weight of decisions that could reshape an entire nation. Life really does take strange turns. About an hour later, the car stopped. A broad-shouldered man walked toward us. Mr. Chen, I'm Commander Lin Jianye, Eastern Military Region. I'll be direct. We need your cooperation with a few tests to confirm what you've told us. I didn't find that strange at all. A matter this big couldn't rest on my word alone. He led me into a massive hall, already packed with testing equipment and dozens of research experts waiting. Lin Jianye had every senior official in the room sign a confidentiality agreement, then turned to me. Mr. Chen, this is Academician Ye Sheng from the Dragon Country Academy of Sciences. He'll be supervising your tests. After a round of formalities, Ye Sheng, in a crisp white lab coat, pointed toward a solid steel training dummy set up a short distance away. Mr. Chen, please strike this dummy with your full strength. I nodded, said nothing, and walked toward it. Every single person in that room held their breath. Not one blink. Even the top officials sitting back in the capital were watching the live feed in complete silence. Then, a massive explosion of sound. Ears ringing. Everyone turned to look, and there it was. One hit. The dummy wasn't a dummy anymore. Just fragments, dust, and a crater blown straight into the wall behind it. That's the moment Lin Jianye finally understood exactly how much I'd been holding back when I destroyed that office table. What's the data? Yi Sheng snapped the second he caught his breath. Base power output, over 5 tons. More than 5,000 kilograms. That single line was enough to silence the entire room. He can't be human. The thought hit every person there at the exact same moment. Everyone in that hall held serious rank, serious status, and every one of them knew ancient martial arts existed in this world. According to everything they knew, even the highest level ancient martial artist alive couldn't push past 1 ton, 1,000 kilograms max. And those kinds of martial artists were rare enough that the government kept a full record on every single one. The testing ran a full hour. Afterward, Lin Jianye brought me into a private office to rest. Just the two of us. He pulled out an encrypted laptop and set it in front of me. Mr. Chen, the commanders would like to speak with you. My face went serious instantly. I straightened my clothes. The screen connected, and there they were. The faces I'd only ever seen on television. I stood up immediately and saluted. Commander number 1 smiled, warm and easy. Comrade Chen Shan, relax. Sit down, no need for tension. Can you walk us through the full situation in detail? I sat slowly and told them everything, start to finish. A few moments of silence, then shock rippled through the laptop speaker. Even Lin Jianye, who just watched my power with his own eyes minutes ago, looked stunned all over again. You're telling us, a voice said, that the power you have right now is only 10% of your actual stats. Yes, I answered. Every day for the next week I'll receive another portion of my total stats. Every commander's face turned serious at once. Commander number 1 spoke again. Comrade Chen Shan, I understand you have other ways to prove this. The power I'd shown those officials in person had already been more than enough to convince them personally. But this wasn't a personal matter, it was the future of an entire nation. They had to move carefully, painfully carefully, because once they made a decision here, the whole country would flip on its axis within days. The cost, in money, in resources, in risk, was incalculable. I understood their hesitation completely. So I opened the game's mall on my phone. Commanders, there genuinely are things in this game that can serve as proof. It's just the price of these gift packs is. I trailed off, scratching my head in embarrassment. Every commander on that screen burst out laughing. And just like that, the weight in that room lifted, if only for a moment. A sword blinked into existence, floating in midair, close enough to end a commander's life in half a second. And nobody in that room, not one person, even flinched hard enough to call for help. Let's back up. Comrade Chen Shan has put his trust in this nation. This nation will not disappoint him. Go. Make the arrangements. Yes, Commander. Lin Jianye gave a small nod, pulled out his phone, and made a call right there. He never even asked me for my bank account number. That's when it hit me. The country had already dug through every single detail of my life. At this point, Lin Jianye probably knew more about me than I did. A few minutes later, 100,000 yuan landed in my account. Without wasting a second, I opened the game and bought the exact gift pack I'd already picked out. A low hum rippled through the air in front of me. Space itself seemed to twist. And then a sword appeared, floating there. Beautiful, ancient looking, real. Lin Jianye nearly jumped out of his skin. That close, if I'd wanted to attack him, he wouldn't have had time to scream. He snapped into full alert instantly. But the commanders on the call, they were staring at that floating blade in stunned silence. It's a weapon from the game, I explained quickly. Level 5170, spirit grade, fast enough that even an armored vehicle wouldn't survive a single hit from it. Truthfully, I'd never actually swung a weapon like this in my life, so I chose my words carefully. The commanders sat in shock for a moment, then abruptly cut the meeting to confer privately. If my earlier demonstration had left a sliver of doubt in their minds, the way this sword had simply appeared out of thin air erased it completely. The call dropped, and I finally let out a breath. Sure, I wasn't exactly human anymore, but sitting across from the country's most senior leadership still had my nerves wound tight. Nobody just casually chats with the people running the nation on their first try. Taking advantage of the downtime, I pulled my phone back out and reopened the game. Before I'd even arrived at the military region, I'd already sent my character into the fierce rank trial dungeon. My level had climbed to 52. 2 full levels in just 1 hour. This dungeon clearly handed out far more experience than a normal one. I wondered, once the real mythological era hit, what these dungeons would actually look like in the physical world. An hour later, the call reconnected. Every commander's face had turned serious. Commander number 1 was staring straight at me. Comrade Chen Shan, it's been decided. The nation will establish a mythological special bureau, reporting directly to the Dragon Country Cabinet. You will serve as director. Comrade Lin Jianye will be deputy director. Headquarters will be based at Dongfeng Base for now. The two of you will design the operational structure and report back to us. Effective immediately, this is your first order. Every function of this nation will yield priority to this bureau for the next week, so we can prepare for what's coming. And your single biggest task over the next few days is this. Push your in-game level as high as humanly possible. Whatever it costs, the National Treasury will cover it. My brain short-circuited. I'd only wanted the country's backing so I could get stronger, and to warn them about the disaster ahead. How had I suddenly become a director? This was the future of the entire Dragon Country resting on my shoulders. Anyone else in my position, a small-time office worker a week ago, would have been paralyzed by that weight. Seeing me hesitate, the commander spoke again, tone firm and unwavering. Comrade Chen Shan, don't underestimate yourself. The fact that you were granted the only closed beta qualification on this entire planet already proves you are no ordinary man. The nation trusts you completely. You need to trust yourself the same way. Something lit up in my chest at those words. A fire ran through my veins. Commanders, I will give everything I have for Dragon Country. My conviction landed. I could see it. Pride, respect, flickering across every commander's face on that screen. The call ended. Lin Jianye, already settling comfortably into his new role, turned to me immediately. Director, the commanders want a full plan from us, and time is short. I thought for a moment, pulling together the scattered ideas that had been forming in my head the whole ride over. As far as I understand it, the moment the mythological era begins, we'll be hit immediately by a wave of alien beasts. If we survive that first tide, we'll buy ourselves a window to develop and prepare. But there's more. When the mythological era arrives, the entire mythological world is going to flood into Blue Star like a storm. And that means every animal, every plant on this planet could mutate into something monstrous. Lin Jianye's forehead creased with tension. This was worse than anything he'd anticipated. If what you're saying is true, then Dragon Country doesn't just need to survive the invading beasts from the mythological world. We need to survive our own mutated wildlife too. Exactly, I said. That's what I was thinking about the whole way here. I've got a basic framework. First, mass military recruitment on a massive scale. This isn't going to be some small skirmish. Dragon Country will need a constant flow of new soldiers and forces. Second, call back every citizen abroad who wants to come home. Don't force anyone who'd rather stay away. But exactly 2 days before the mythological era begins, Dragon Country needs to seal its borders completely. Third, turn every province's main city into a defensive base. Merge the smaller cities into the larger ones and build 34 total defense zones. Move all civilians safely into these zones. Station 200,000 soldiers in each one. We'll also need energy detection centers built, so we can locate where these dangerous beasts are hiding as fast as possible. Fourth, pull together every top scientist in the country and pour everything into building the deadliest weapons we can. Modern guns and bombs might do nothing against high-level beasts, but against a swarm of low-level ones, these weapons will matter. Fifth, the panic and unrest this is going to cause among the public will be massive. We need to use every media channel and every corner of the internet to manage that fear. No matter what, people need to walk away believing one thing, that their nation stands with them through this. When I finished, Lin Lin Jianye's expression was pure disbelief. You built a plan this detailed, this fast. It's not perfect, sure, but this is genuinely impressive, Director. He paused, something clicking in his head. Director, how much funding do you need to start? I smiled slightly. Once an entire nation becomes your biggest backer, there's no room left for modesty or hesitation. Alright then, 10 billion. To start, I need to put some money into the game. The number didn't even faze Lin Jianye. I'd become the single most important person in all of Dragon Country, after all. He made another call. About 10 minutes later, I checked my phone. The notification had so many zeros they barely fit on the screen, and my heart started pounding out of my chest. It's just 10 billion. Get it together, Legs. Stop shaking. Director, I need to call an expert meeting immediately to discuss the plan. Would you like to join? No. It's better I stay out of sight for now. You take full charge of all of this. Honestly, sitting through meeting after meeting with real people sounded far less appealing than what I really wanted to do. Go absolutely wild spending money in this game. The moment Lin Jianye stepped out, I pulled my phone back out and started buying like a man locked inside a mall with someone else's credit card. Packs that had been completely out of reach an hour earlier. I laughed under my breath. Talent extraction gift pack, bought. Skill scroll gift pack, bought. Talent after talent paraded across my screen like runway models. I barely glanced at most of them. Anything below legendary quality wasn't even worth my attention. After a full 100 draws, something caught my eye. A mythical quality talent lit up on the screen, Clear Sword Heart. The top tier mythical talent of the entire sword path. It could sense incoming danger before it arrived. Thousands of swords returning to their origin point. Perfect for staying alive. I bound it immediately. No hesitation. Over the next half hour, I burned through money like a man possessed, and by the end, I'd secured 5 top tier mythical talents. The first, Chaotic Sword Domain, could fuse every sword path skill together, and even let me comprehend Hired House new skills on my own. Next, Earth Dragon Overload Body, devouring the blood and essence of alien beasts to reinforce my physical body. At its peak, my body itself would reach a saint level tier. Then, Oath Furnace, capable of melting down alien beasts and converting them into life crystals, which could be used to boost anyone's power, mine or otherwise. And last, Zodiac Nirvana, a top tier passive talent. Whenever death came for me, it would trigger automatically and grant me an entirely new life. With these 5 talents locked in, I was practically an unstoppable warrior across every front. Offense, the Chaos Sword Body. Defense, Earth Dragon Overload Body, a safety net against death, Zodiac Nirvana, and behind all of it, an entire nation as my support system. What more could I possibly need? There was just one catch. All 5 talents were still sitting at their most basic level. Upgrading them wasn't something money could buy. I'd have to train them myself, understand them properly through practice. No gift pack in this game could shortcut that part. After that, I bought out every profession skill scroll pack available. Profession skills had their own tier system too. Mortal grade, profound grade, spirit grade, and earth grade. No matter how rare the profession itself was, even mythical, every awakened skill always started at mortal grade. Upgrading from there took real effort and real understanding. Somewhere in a very famous White House, a golden-haired man was losing his mind on live television. And 200 miles away, I was sitting on a game menu, casually spending $10 billion like it was pocket change. Let's back up. See, I wasn't playing fair. Not even a little. I was a certified top-tier cheater in this situation, so my rules were different from everyone else's. I went straight ahead and upgraded all 5 of my major profession skills to spirit grade, just like that. No grinding required. With that done, I set my character on auto clear in the Fierce Rank Trial Dungeon and turned my attention back to the mall. My only real frustration at this point was the daily purchase limit on experience fills. If it weren't for that, I'd have pushed straight to level 100 without stopping to breathe. Once I'd maxed myself out from head to toe, my mind finally turned to something else, my team. Because here's the truth. No matter how strong I became personally, I didn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. I couldn't fight this war alone. A strong, loyal team was the real key to surviving long term. And that meant I needed the one item in this mall that could be brought into the real world ahead of schedule. The Awakening Stone. Non-negotiable. I checked the details. Only 3 of these gift packs dropped per day. Each one contained a single Awakening Stone, and each stone could awaken professions in a full 100 people. But here's the catch. Just awakening a profession alone wasn't going to help much. A level 1 profession master was only marginally stronger than an ordinary human. Against alien beasts, they'd still be squashed like insects. While I was buried in the mall, Dongfeng Base had already kicked into full gear. Lin Jianye had pulled together an army of research experts in record time. They'd taken my plan, debated it, added what was missing, polished it, and brought it back to me for review before sending it straight to the cabinet. Lin Jianye walked in holding a thick bundle of red files. Director, the cabinet has approved the plan. I nodded. Since time is short, the defense zone plan gets executed first. Call an emergency meeting. Every industry representative, especially construction. And don't tell them the real reason yet. That'll just spark panic for nothing. Just give them the direct order from the central government. At the same time, start military recruitment immediately. Call citizens abroad home. Start weapons production. And get ahead of the narrative online, right now. All of this runs in parallel. Time isn't waiting for anyone. Within the hour, every industry representative in the capital dropped what they were doing and rushed to the assembly hall the second the emergency notice went out. The ones too far away were flown in on military aircraft. Every single one of them arrived drenched in sweat, breathless. Nobody even had the composure to talk to each other. Standing on the platform inside, chest out, was Major General Lin Jianye. The room stared at him, confused. Since when did a military officer host a political assembly? But Lin Jianye didn't have time to explain. He opened the top file in front of him and spoke, voice heavy. An emergency cabinet order is being issued, effective immediately. Every representative sat up straight, ears sharpened. All current national policies are suspended, effective now. Every province's main city will become a base. Smaller cities will be merged with larger ones to form 34 defense zones. Every construction and mining company is ordered to redirect its full capacity into this project alone. Dead silence swallowed the hall. You could have heard a pin drop. Every representative stared at Lin Jianye, eyes wide, freezing a nation of 2 billion people overnight and throwing its entire strength behind a single project. This was economic suicide on a scale nobody could process. If they hadn't known they were sitting in the country's highest assembly hall, they would have sworn they'd wandered into a room with a lunatic. This order was passed unanimously by the full cabinet. Your job now is simple. Follow it, and give this nation your complete support. With that, Lin Jianye walked straight out, leaving a room full of representatives staring blankly at each other. The moment the assembly hall's doors swung open, the reporters waiting outside lost all patience. Sir, can you tell us anything about what happened in there? Is this related to the internet, e-commerce, shipping regulations? Nobody answered. Then someone in the crowd shouted, "Everyone, check Weibo, now." Phones came out instantly. A trending topic, Mythical Special Bureau, had shot straight to the #1 spot. In fact, the entire top 10 trending searches were nothing but variations of that same name, and the post sitting underneath the Bureau's brand new official account. That one shook the foundations of Dragon Country and all of Blue Star at once. Effective immediately, all other national policies are suspended. Full national focus shifts to the Defense Zone project. The Mythical Special Bureau calls on every construction worker in this nation to answer the call and help build these zones. Military recruitment is now open to all citizens between 20 and 40. Target, 8 million new soldiers. Priority given to veterans. The Mythical Special Bureau calls on our passionate youth to enlist. All patriotic citizens currently abroad are ordered to return home immediately. Dragon Country's borders will be sealed completely, very soon. If you fail to return, you alone bear responsibility for your own safety. These decisions have been approved jointly by the Cabinet under Commander #1 and the Chief of the Mythical Special Bureau, myself, and are to be enforced immediately. The moment that post went live, every major media outlet picked it up and slammed it across their platforms. Within minutes, views crossed 100 million, comments passed a million. What is even happening right now? Is a war starting? A 20-year-old single guy just applied to enlist. A 5-year veteran just requested to be reactivated. Which cement company is still waiting on the government's word? We're already loading trucks. Liu Gang Group stands behind every decision this nation makes. MCC Group is ready to serve the people. In that single moment, those comments touched something deep in the entire nation and made every hidden enemy quietly wet themselves. Just hearing that one unified voice was enough to make blood boil in people's veins, even without knowing the real reason behind any of it, even knowing it might destroy their futures, even knowing it could cost them their lives. Not one single person questioned the nation's decision. That was our unity. That was the real strength of the dragon. Inside the country, morale was through the roof. Outside it, the so-called free world sat in stunned silence, because if this exact thing had happened on their own soil, forget unity. There would have been riots in the streets within hours. Meanwhile, inside a certain very famous White House, a blonde-haired man was losing it. What the hell is Dragon Country trying to pull? Fine, 8 million new troops, whatever. But they sealed their borders and froze all trade. Are they trying to start World War III? Find out. Use everything we've got. I want answers. Dragon Country's so-called allies were blowing up Commander #1's phone with calls. Every single one got the same 2 words back. No comment. But as a courtesy between old friends, the commander did leave them with a warning. The world is about to face a catastrophe unlike anything in history. My friends, you'd be wise to start preparing. Now, that warning reached other nations quickly enough, but they brushed it off. Partly because they didn't believe it. And partly, even if they had, none of them had the capacity to pull off what Dragon Country was doing. Not every nation has that kind of nerve, or that kind of influence. The blonde man, meanwhile, was busy farming engagement on Twitter. Stay calm, everyone. Nobody understands Dragon Country better than I do. This is clearly some kind of mind game to stir up chaos on Blue Star. Don't fall for their tricks. The internet was on fire, but real life was burning even hotter. Every major TV channel in Dragon Country ran the Mythical Special Bureau's orders on repeat, primetime, non-stop. The instant the public heard it, they moved. Countless workers packed their bags and headed straight for provincial construction sites. Fit young men and ex-soldiers said goodbye to their families and walked straight to enlistment offices. Every overseas embassy issued emergency notices overnight, calling citizens home from every corner of the globe. Of course, there's always a handful of spineless people, cozying up to their foreign patrons, mocking us with total confidence, insisting they weren't coming back. Back at Dongfang Base, in a meeting room, Lin Jianye slammed his hand on the table. What's the mood online right now? The head of the internet team answered honestly. Domestic morale is at an all-time high. What little negativity showed up, we buried immediately. Internationally, most people are trying to make us look bad. Some financial predators are already scheming to profit off our economy during this. But the worst of it, by far, comes from our own students studying abroad, running their mouths on Twitter. The impact is genuinely damaging. Sitting in the main seat, I kept my face calm. Don't waste your energy on people with betrayal in their blood, and don't bother trying to win them back. Focus only on those who genuinely love this country. The ones licking someone else's boots. What good would they even do if they came back? Let them know this much, and consider it this nation's last act of mercy toward them. I paused. Now, the real priority. The 34 defense zones. What's our construction status? The head of the construction team stood immediately. Every major construction firm, private engineering team, mining company, cement and steel factory, all of them stepped forward without hesitation the moment they heard the call. Materials are being delivered to designated sites right now tonight. Work begins the second the sun comes up tomorrow. I nodded slowly. Whatever they're owed, they get paid in full, not a cent short. If the public answered this nation's call, it means they trust us completely. We cannot break that trust. Not under any circumstances. The meeting ran a full 2 hours. Once everything was locked in, I stood, looked around the room and spoke loud enough for every person there to hear. Comrades, we are facing a catastrophe unlike anything in recorded history. It is a threat, yes, but it is also an opportunity. I believe with everything in me, if this nation stands united, this disaster won't be Dragon Country's downfall. It will be our new beginning. The room erupted. Young faces flushed red with fire. Old men looked like they'd found 20 years of youth again. Something electric ran through every single person in that room. By the time the meeting ended and I made made it back to my room. It was nearly midnight. I sat quietly on my bed, waiting for my next profession power feedback. And then it hit me again, that overwhelming, addictive surge of power flooding into my body. I opened my system panel and checked my stats. 600 of the deadliest soldiers in the country stood in a bunker, watching stone tablets appear out of thin air. Not one of them screamed, but every single one of them was about to find out just how small they really were. 2 days of power feedback had turned my stats into something almost obscene. Power 42, physique 486, spirit 643, even my weakest stat. Power sat 40 times what a normal human could ever reach. I clenched my fist just to test it, and a sonic boom cracked through the air like a gunshot. Then I opened the store and started scanning packs again. First thing that caught my eye, awakening stones. 3 left over from yesterday, 3 fresh ones today. 6 total, enough to awaken 600 people ahead of schedule. That single purchase wiped out all 10 billion in one shot. Account basically empty. The experience fill pack was non-negotiable too, except there was a catch. Those fills only worked below level 80, and I was already sitting around level 60. Give it 2 more days, and they'd be useless to me personally. Screw it. Any early progress was still progress. Right as I was mourning the fact that I couldn't use those fills myself, the store refreshed, and a brand new experience pack appeared. One that could actually be brought into the real world ahead of schedule. I nearly cheered out loud. 3 billion for the privilege, and it only worked below level 30. But that meant my newly awakened forces could level up instantly and become an actual fighting unit overnight. There wasn't a version of this where I didn't buy it. After another reckless shopping spree, I set my level 80 character loose in the Sycamore danger zone to grind monsters, and finally let myself fall asleep. The next morning, I walked into my office at Dongfang Base, and the first thing I saw was Lin Tong, standing there perfectly put together, with a hot cup of coffee already waiting on my desk. I froze. Director Lin, what are you doing here? Her face went a little red. All that stiff, official attitude from our first meeting was completely gone. Orders from above. I've been assigned as the chief's secretary, to help with your daily work. I picked up the coffee, took a sip, and thought, how fast roles can flip. But then again, she was the reason I was standing in this position at all. I had a feeling I'd need to keep a closer eye on this one going forward. Director Lin, don't think of yourself as just a secretary. She caught the meaning under those words and smiled slightly. Director or secretary, either way, I'm still serving Dragon Country in the end, aren't I? That's when it hit me. Flirting during a national crisis was probably a little much. I straightened up and changed the subject fast. There's something I need you to do right now. Get in touch with Director Lin Jianye. Tell him to gather the best of the best. Special Forces commandos from across the entire country. Exactly 600. I'm going to have them awaken their professions ahead of schedule. We're building a mythical Special Forces unit. Oh, and put another 10 billion on my card. Understood. She was already moving before she finished the sentence. Lin Jianye didn't waste a second either. He sent word to every elite commando unit in the country. Drop your current missions. Report to Dongfang Base immediately. Within the hour, armed helicopters were landing one after another, rotors screaming across the whole base. Reporting, sir. Dragon Soul Squad, 30 members present. Reporting, sir. Sharp Blade Squad, 30 members present. Heavy sharp voices echoed across the training ground. Teams in different uniforms stood in perfect formation. Lin Jianye nodded, satisfied. You're probably wondering why you were called here so suddenly. I'll tell you straight. Huaxia, and honestly, all of Blue Star, is about to face a catastrophe unlike anything humanity has ever seen. Our enemy is bigger than anything you can imagine, and you were chosen to be the first warriors to face it. So tell me, do you have the guts for this? Yes, sir. The roar was loud enough to split the sky. Good. That's exactly the fire I needed from you. Follow me. Underground inside the base, Lin Tong and I were already waiting, along with a handful of researchers ready to draw blood samples for study. One team after another marched into the hall in perfect sync. Every commando's eyes swept the room in shock, but not one of them so much as blinked out of formation. Not until Lin Jianye walked past and stood behind me. That's when real shock hit their faces. How is this kid, younger than all of us, sitting above Major General Lin Jianye? I looked straight into their wide eyes and spoke, calm and unhurried. My name is Chen Shan, 22 years old, Chief of the Mythical Special Bureau and Captain of the Mythical Special Forces. As of this moment, your old ranks and squads no longer exist. You are members of the Mythical Special Forces now. Your authority will outrank every other military unit in this country, and every one of you will be given the direct rank of Major. You are about to become Dragon Country's front line against an alien race. The danger ahead is 1,000 times greater than anything you've faced before. If anyone wants to walk away, the door is right there. Now is the time. Nobody moved. Every commando stood like a statue, staring into my eyes with total unshaken confidence. Satisfied, I nodded and swept my hand through the air. 6 massive stone tablets, carved with strange glowing symbols, materialized in the middle of the hall. Even these men, people who played with death for a living, couldn't stop their eyes from going wide at stones appearing out of thin air. Only their sheer discipline kept them from crying out. At my order, they formed a line in front of the awakening stones. First up was Jia Pingwu, captain of Sharp Blade, the undisputed alpha even among this group. He placed his scarred, broad palm against the stone. A deep resonant sound rang out, and the symbols carved into it lit up like they'd come alive. A brilliant purple light swallowed the entire hall, wrapping around his body in a glowing cocoon. The rest of the commandos completely lost their composure at that, shouting, gasping, pointing. Even Lin Jianye and Lin Tong, who'd already seen my absurd power firsthand, stood there stunned. I was the only one smiling. Not bad. First one out, and he's already pulled a legendary profession. Truly worthy of being Sharp Blade's captain. Here's the thing. Every item on my own body happened to be mythical grade, but a real human pulling a mythical profession was practically impossible. Even legendary was a 1 in a million shot. For an average person, landing an advanced profession alone would have been the achievement of a lifetime. The light faded. Jia Pingwu's face lit up with a dangerous kind of joy. As he stepped back into formation, he could feel it, how much stronger he'd become. Several times over what he used to be. Which profession profession? I asked. I could already tell the tier from the color of the light, just not the exact name. He snapped to attention and saluted. Reporting, sir. I've awakened the combat-type legendary profession, Holy Combat Warrior. I nodded approvingly. Good. Go help the research team with their data collection. Then I turned to the rest of the line and called out the next name. The whole awakening process ran 2.5 hours. The biggest surprise of the day? Out of 600 Special Forces members, 20 pulled legendary professions. Nearly 200 landed rare. Everyone else got at least advanced. Almost all of it landed combat type. Only a handful drew support. But the one who really caught my attention was Ye Wenqiu, captain of Dragon Soul Squad. He'd awakened a legendary hidden profession, Holy Array Master, a combat-adjacent profession built entirely around array formations, with an extreme natural talent for it. His formation speed blew past any normal array master, and the arrays he built carried a destructive power on a whole different level. Right now, for Dragon Country, this profession ranked second in importance, right behind my own. If Ye Wenqiu's arrays could reinforce our 34 defense zones, our security would multiply several times over. Even if his arrays couldn't fully stop the high-level monsters, they'd buy me the time to get there and finish the job myself. After that, I pulled out the experience fills I'd bought and handed them out. The moment they consumed them, their levels jumped instantly. I stood in front of them and called out, loud and clear, "Comrades, do you feel powerful right now?" 600 voices roared in unison. To an ordinary human, to anyone on Blue Star, yes, you are terrifyingly powerful. But against what's actually coming for us, you're still weaklings, weaker than insects. I watched their faces shift, anger, wounded pride, that instinct to prove me wrong. But I didn't soften my tone at all, because now that they were part of the mythical special forces, they deserved the truth. All of it. In 5 days, to be exact, in 4.5 days, the mythical era lands on Blue Star. The monsters you'll be facing will be thousands of meters long. So tell me again, do you still think you're that powerful? Dead silence. Real fear, written plainly across every face. These were men who'd gambled with death for a living, and even they went pale hearing that number out loud. I need you to bury that pride, and that impatience, and set your training on fire instead. Don't get comfortable with power that fell into your lap overnight. You are Dragon Country's last hope. You are the foundation this entire nation is standing on. Then I handed them the monster encyclopedia I'd already prepared. I don't care how you memorize this. Repetition, mnemonics, whatever works. Every page of this book needs to be burned into your memory. Think it through. If one of these things showed up in front of you right now, what would you actually do to kill it? I didn't waste another second there. I signaled to Ye Wenqiu and left with Lin Tong back toward my office. On the way I asked him, "Ye Wenqiu, which skill did you awaken?" He answered, firm and clipped. "Reporting, Chief. I've awakened the legendary skill, Bafong Sword Array." Something lit up behind my eyes. Bafong Sword Array. A formation with genuinely terrifying power. There couldn't be a better fit for reinforcing our defense zones. Get me a full materials list for setting up the Bafong Sword Array. Now. The moment logistics gathers everything, you're heading straight to all 34 defense zones to install it. We don't have time to waste. He wasn't ready for what came next. A father, 50 years old, a war veteran, standing toe-to-toe with government officials, ready to fight his way onto a battlefield he had no business being anywhere near. And in less than 60 seconds, my quiet threat over the phone would leave him speechless. But let's rewind, because before I could deal with my own father, I had a country to run. Leave, right now. Vitao snapped a sharp salute. "Yes, sir," and vanished. That's when Lin Tong came sprinting toward me. "Chief, we've got a problem. One you're probably going to have to handle yourself." I was confused. Every major arrangement was basically locked in. What kind of emergency shows up now? "Your father," she said, "is refusing to back down. He wants to enlist in the army. He nearly got into a physical fight with the draft office staff. Ever since I became chief of the special bureau, my parents had been under quiet, secret protection. They had no idea about my new powers. No idea about this entire new life I was living. The country's latest recruitment drive had one rule. Under 40 years old only. My father, Chen Luchuan, had blown past that line years ago. But his enthusiasm for joining? Sky high. Because the man was a 10-year military veteran. And that's exactly why the draft office couldn't just slam the door on him. So the whole mess landed right back on my desk. I swear, in that moment my brain just short-circuited. Family problems are always the hardest to solve. By the book, my father, almost 50, didn't meet a single requirement. And if I'm being honest with myself, the war coming our way was going to be brutal, vicious. The kind of war I wanted to keep my entire family 1,000 miles away from. Here's the real truth. Dragon Country had thousands of young men, blood hot and ready, standing in line. So why would we send our elders to the border to die? Their time to fight was over. Now it was time for them to rest. I looked up at Lin Tong. "Are there more veterans out there demanding to enlist by force?" She looked a little stunned. "A lot, sir. Their spirit is bigger than anything we imagined. Doesn't matter the age. If a man's a veteran, he's fighting to get back in that line." Hearing that, my chest swelled with pride. What kind of fire burns in the people of my country when the courage of ordinary citizens runs this deep? Is there any disaster on Earth Dragon Country can't crush? After a long pause, I gave the order. "Tell the draft office to release a public notice. Explain the exact reasoning behind this rule clearly to everyone. These veterans' hearts should not be broken." Pause. "As for my father, I'll call him myself." Lin Tong saluted. "Yes, Chief." And she was gone the second the order left my mouth. I pulled out my phone, and dialed him. The second he picked up, that same loud, unmistakable voice came blasting through. "You useless son. Half a month, not one call. You flying around in the sky or something? Found a girl yet or not?" I couldn't help but smile. Same old flavor, untouched. "I heard," I said. "You're trying to join the army again." He said it like it was obvious. "Of course. The country needs us right now. I'm a 10-year veteran. There's no such thing as backing down at a time like this." "You're late this time, old man," I told him. "Your son already enlisted before you did. And if both of us go to the front line, who's going to watch over mom? Sit at home this time. Stay quiet. You're part of this war? Your son's fighting it now." I knew my father's stubborn mule-headed streak all too well. There was no way he was going to accept this the easy way. Chen Luchuan exploded. "Are you an idiot? Stop this nonsense and get home right now. Our Chen family has one son. One. I want to see my grandson. Now." I kept my voice completely calm. Nothing can change this, Dad. You were a soldier once. You know exactly what the army does to deserters. That one cold line was enough to shut him up completely. Silence on the line. A long silence. Then quietly, he finally said, take care of yourself, son. Train hard. Sweat more on the ground now. Bleed less on the real battlefield later. Your mother and I will be waiting for you to come home. Alive. Victorious. That little speech nearly broke my heart. Somewhere out there, across all of Dragon Country, countless parents were probably giving their kids the exact same warning. Right now, enlisting during peacetime was one thing, but the scale of what the country was preparing for, everyone could feel it. Something monstrous was coming. And what parent wants to send their own flesh and blood into that? Something inside me ached. Right now, I was the strongest player in all of Dragon Country, and I only had one option left. Climb as fast as humanly possible, high enough to save every single soldier in this nation. I was still lost in that thought when Lin Tong's phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face went white. Chief, she said, shaking, we have a massive incident. One of our foreign exchange students studying in Eagle Country had been ordered home. He'd made all his travel arrangements, and now, the foreigners had found some excuse to detain him, trap him there. I was genuinely stunned. It's just one student. Why start a whole drama over that? Lin Tong kept going. Chief, you don't understand who this is. His name is Xiao Chenfeng. He's a prodigy in medicine, biology, and nuclear energy. At his age, he's already won the World Scientific Research Lifetime Achievement Award. The entire world knows he's a monster genius. That's not all, she continued. He was part of every top secret project in Eagle Country. Their own president treats him like a son, and the second he announced he wanted to come home, to our country, they lost their minds, completely lost control. A slow, dangerous grin spread across my face. What a bunch of two-bit thugs. I pulled out my phone to get the full story. The internet had already exploded. Our Foreign Affairs Department had dropped a blistering warning video, tearing apart Eagle Country's little stunt, line by line. The message was crystal clear. Release our citizen, Xiao Chenfeng, immediately, or face consequences. Consequences that included military force. That video set social media on fire. Hundreds of millions of citizens, blood boiling, all wanting the same thing. No more talk. Time to show them exactly what we're capable of. Meanwhile, inside the White House, the generals' faces had gone pale, genuinely rattled. Because the truth was twofold. Xiao Chenfeng was an enormous asset to them, and Dragon Country's sudden, terrifying resolve had shaken them to the bone. They'd assumed we were bluffing, posturing, but once they realized we were playing for real, their confidence collapsed. Embassies were shutting down and pulling out from everywhere. They were terrified we were about to kick off World War III for real. Because if Xiao Chenfeng made it home safely, our technology would leap forward overnight, and they'd made this exact mistake once before. A mistake they still hadn't gotten over. That's when a pale-faced blonde secretary came sprinting in. Mr. President, our reports say Dragon Country's entire eastern aircraft carrier fleet is on the move. Direction. Straight toward us. East. President Donald cursed. Oh shit. And he bolted straight for the command room, his whole entourage trailing behind. Right around then, back at base, I got a direct call from the #1 commander himself. Comrade Chen Zhuan, he said, I didn't want to interrupt your work, but something's come up. Something only you can handle. The respect in his tone actually caught me off guard. Commander, you don't need the formalities. Every breath I take belongs to Dragon Country. Then let's get straight to it, he said. You've heard about Xiao Chenfeng. Cabinet's decision. Unless absolutely necessary, we are not going head-to-head with these foreigners. Our real focus needs to stay on our defense cities. And the biggest truth of all, our real enemy isn't the people out there. It's the Mythical Era, starting in just a few days. So our order is simple. Go in quietly. No official attack. Pull Xiao Chenfeng out. I thought for a second, then went serious. Commander, I've got a solid idea. We just formed the Mythical Special Forces. Why not let them get their live fire practice on Eagle Country? Send them to close this out. Truth is, at the level my power had reached, slipping in quietly and pulling Xiao Chenfeng out was child's play for me. Unless their military dropped a full nuclear-grade weapon on me directly, their standard-issue guns couldn't so much as graze my skin. Worst case, maybe a missile scratches me. That's the ceiling. The commander gave a nod through the phone. Fine. But remember one thing. The only objective of this mission is bringing Xiao Chenfeng back alive and safe. Don't waste time picking fights with those foreigners for fun. We've got plenty on our plate already. Order received, sir, I replied. The second the call ended, I headed straight for the Special Forces base. The moment I stepped into the hall, my voice boomed out. Line up. Assemble now. The soldiers sitting around chatting on the ground shot up like springs, and in nanoseconds, a perfect line stood before me. Jia Pingyu, Chang Ding, Wang Yu, Xiaowan. I called out 7 names. You 7, with me. The rest of you stay here. Keep training. Wait for further orders. The 7 I picked were the elite captains of this force, every one of them holding legend tier class powers. Because if this team, with me alongside them, couldn't pull one student out, then facing the true monsters of the Mythical Era wasn't even worth discussing. Once the flight took off, I laid out the real mission. Eagle Country's dogs snatched one of our students and are holding him hostage on their own soil. Orders from the top, we bring him home. This is your first real test since your class awakening. Play this clean enough that I don't even have to lift a finger. Hearing that sharp edge in my voice, Jia Pingyu and the rest went silent. But the hunger, the fire to fight, radiating off every one of them, I could feel it filling the entire plane. Hours passed in the air. Back home it was already deep into the night. Then, suddenly, mid-flight, I felt it, a massive surge building inside me. The system was pushing my class past level 80. A storm of energy and power ripped through my entire body, so violent my head started spinning. If I hadn't fought with everything I had to hold that boiling energy in check, this plane might have gone up in flames mid-air. 10 minutes later, when the system finally settled, I could feel that raw, fire-breathing power now living inside me. A killer smile crept across my face. At this level, it felt like this planet's pathetic gravity had stopped affecting me entirely. Like I could walk through open sky without a single care. But obviously, I wasn't about to jump out of a moving plane just to test that theory. One wrong calculation, and I'd be shaking hands with death himself. Right after, I pulled up my system interface and bought every limited-time shop pack available. Instantly, with the level cap raised, the new experience pills had jumped straight from level 40, and the high-tier ones had shattered the old ceiling of 80, pushing it all the way to 100. I slammed through item after item, non-stop, and then boom. My base level hit exactly 100. There was pride on my face, real pride, but I wasn't stupid enough to get overconfident. Level 100 was still just the base. Way above it, there were far nastier realms waiting, and once the game's monsters became real, once the mythical era actually descended on this world, those levels would be on a whole different plane of terrifying. I needed to keep upgrading myself before the system shut its doors for good. Then, one notification wiped the smile right off my face sting. System congratulates you on crossing level 100. You are now a complete Chaos Swordmaster. From this point forward, your level cannot be raised by any artificial item or experience pill. No matter how many bosses you kill in-game, no matter how many monsters of the coming mythical era you slaughter in real life, you will receive 0 experience. To level up from here, the player must understand and feel the laws of this world with their soul. The color drained from my face reading that. I'd been dreaming I'd just cash shop my way straight to Legendary Century, or at the very least, punch my way up to True King territory. That whole fantasy just shattered. Thinking about it though, it made sense. If someone could become an invincible god just by throwing money at a game, what would even be the point of the catastrophe the universe was about to unleash? Still, hitting level 100 already put me in a different universe compared to everyone else. After a cold sigh, I unlocked every remaining skill scroll package I had. I dumped them all into my 5 awakened career skills and pushed every single one to level 102. Only then did I finally settle down. Our flight had crossed the ocean. We'd landed in the country of self-proclaimed big shots, Eagle Country. Meanwhile, in a lavish mansion on the outskirts of Los Angeles, a slim, composed young man stood quietly, staring at a world map. From the outside, the mansion looked completely ordinary. But out in the yard, hidden in the darkness, hundreds of fully geared commandos with heavy weapons stood ready. Not even a bird was getting through that perimeter. Inside, a stunning blonde walked over to him, swaying, 2 glasses of red wine in hand. "My Gia," she purred. "In the mood for a drink?" Xiao Chenfeng reached out, took the glass silently. Not a single word. She pressed the glass to her red lips and murmured, voice like velvet, "My Gia, why are you so stubborn about going back to Dragon Country? What's wrong with the luxury here? There's freedom in this air. Say yes, and in 1 second, green card, $100 billion, and this beautiful woman, forever, all yours." She slid her whole body closer. Any ordinary man would have melted into a puddle by now, but Xiao Chenfeng was unmoved, like some kind of monk. He said coldly, "You people wouldn't understand this. A bond with your homeland is different. You can lock my body in this room, but you will never own my soul." The woman, Lilia, was about to try another trick to seduce him when, boom, a sky-splitting scream and a storm of noise tore through the night. Gunfire erupted immediately after, along with a chorus of panic cursing. Outside in the dark, the commandos raised their rifles and started firing blind. Even with their expensive thermal goggles, they couldn't see a damn thing in that darkness. Whoosh. Whoosh. Whoosh sounds tore through the air, like stones being hurled. Every commando's grip tightened on their weapon when they saw, with their own bulging eyes, entire trees and heavy chunks of earth raining down on them like missiles. Before they had a second to take cover, shadows moved faster than their minds could process, and stopped right in front of them. The lead figure threw a punch so brutal, it tore straight through the mansion's wall, ripping open a hole. Security guards screamed, "Oh my god, what kind of monster is this?" Even against this elite force, the figures standing before them made everyone look like flies. The shockwave alone from their presence was enough to send every guard eating dirt. In the blink of an eye, every last one of them was either unconscious or faking it, hoping to survive by playing dead. Right after, I walked in, hands behind my back, hero-style entrance, straight through the shattered wall. Inside, the remaining personal guards, trembling with fear, had their rifles aimed straight at my chest. "Shh, who the hell are you people? One more step and we'll shoot." I tossed their pathetic warning straight into the trash and answered, calm as ever, eyes on Xiao Chenfeng. "Mr. Xiao, we're here to take you home." The second he heard that, Xiao Chenfeng broke down. Tears, raw emotion. The composed, disciplined young man started trembling, tears streaming down his face, and with everything he had, he nodded yes at me. The moment I had his approval, boom, I activated my skill. To anyone watching, it looked like I hadn't moved an inch. Just a gust of wind that appeared right in front of the commandos. Before that white army could pull a single trigger, they were airborne, flying off like scattered leaves. That hot little witch, Lilia, screamed, "Oh my god," and dropped cold, unconscious, on the spot. I didn't have a second to waste on these throwaway characters. I gave a signal, and my squad closed in around Xiao Chenfeng, vanishing into the black of night. From the first explosion to our exit, the entire operation took 3 minutes flat. Keep in mind, we were standing dead center in this backstabbing country's own capital. If word got out fast enough, they'd have dropped an atomic-grade weapon right on their own soil to stop us. A bomb like that wouldn't have touched me, but the rest of my squad, they'd have turned to ash. Outside the base, we sat disguised as cover agents and made our way toward the nearest harbor. Trying to disable every camera and CCTV along the route would have been a waste of time and pure stupidity. News of the attack spread faster than a bullet. Every army unit and local cop in Los Angeles hit the streets. Highways got barricaded. Even the most sensationalist news anchors floored it to chase this story live. We exploited their scattered, weakened security and slammed our truck to a stop right at the harbor. But behind us, 50 police cars screamed in with sirens blaring, horns stacked on horns, and 5 police helicopters thundered overhead. I scanned the entire death circle surrounding us and gave the order. Jia Pingyu, all of you move. Get Mr. Xiao locked safely onto that ship. Jia Pingyu's face changed the instant he heard that. He knew exactly what I meant to Dragon Country. A god-tier asset, more important than that scientist, more important than the entire squad. He argued, "Sir, I'll hold the line here. Please, board that ship safely." I shot him a proper villain glare and barked, "Follow the damn order I gave you. These small-time trash can't stop me." Right at that standoff, the LA police pulled out a loudspeaker and started their little speech. "You Dragon Country savages, you're surrounded on all sides. Sit down on the ground quietly and surrender, or we open fire right here." That garbage officer didn't even finish his line before a black shadow in the sky zoomed in, growing larger by the second. A 2-ton steel shipping container came screaming down out of the sky and crashed directly into that crowd of officers. That terrifying strike sent every one of those overweight cops scrambling, screaming like dogs with something chasing them. The fallen monster of a box flattened every single police car like they were made of dough. Up above, the sniper in the helicopter's trigger finger twitched, and a rain of bullets came down. But suddenly, their expressions turned to pure dread, because I'd already grabbed 2 10-ton cars with my bare hands, spun them like pebbles, and hurled them straight at the helicopters. The men inside those choppers broke down crying and immediately stopped firing, flying backward instead. They understood, in that instant, exactly what they were dealing with. This man was only throwing toy cars right now. If his mood soured even a little, he'd grab an entire cargo ship and throw that instead. And after that, no father, no God, nothing would save them. With every commando, every trash media channel in Eagle Country watching wide-eyed, I walked onto that ship like I owned the earth. Standing on the front deck, I turned and stared them all down with pure attitude. The silent pressure radiating off me was so heavy that nobody on that shore had the guts left to twitch a single finger. They just stood there, mouths open, watching our ship sail off like it was some kind of magic trick. A few hours later, inside the White House, President Donald got the update and lost it completely. "General William," he screamed. "What kind of joke is this? Do these people think this is a public highway? Dragon Country walks in here and does whatever the hell it wants, and you're telling me my great nation can't do a damn thing about it?" William's face went dark with embarrassment. He pulled up a grainy CCTV clip. "Mr. President, look at this footage." In the night's haze, it looked like a single man had ripped an entire tree out of the ground with his bare hands and hurled it at the mansion like a toy. William continued, "Sir, Dragon Country didn't send a normal human being. Stopping him through conventional means is impossible. I'm requesting permission to scramble fighter jets from the Navy base and intercept them mid-route." Donald watched the footage, jaw tightening, and barked the order in fury. "Remember this. Under no circumstances does that Xiao leave here alive. If it comes to it, fire the missile directly. Him buried at the bottom of the ocean is 1,000 times better than him going home to Dragon Country." Multiple F-22 fighter jets screamed off the runway from Eagle Country's naval base, cutting through the sky, storming straight toward our ship. Meanwhile, with the danger momentarily behind us, I was relaxing in the ship's cabin. My squad was out on deck, letting loose, and the secret agents who'd helped us on Eagle Country's soil sat beside me. I looked at all of them. "You've all worked incredibly hard. Our country's got an entire fleet waiting for us in international waters. Just a little more distance to cover, and we'll be home, safe." The girl codenamed Peacock and everyone else nodded. "Understood, sir." Meanwhile, out in international waters, a massive, terrifying fleet sat anchored, waiting. Inside the command room of the main ship, nearly 100 of Dragon Country's top military officials were watching our ship's every move, through satellite, in real time. The fleet commander, Lieutenant General Huang Fuzhong, stood there, 2 stars gleaming on his green uniform. A soldier delivered a report. Report 20 F-22 Raptors closing in on the mythical ship. Distance 150 nautical miles. Huang Fuzhong's face turned dead serious. Big as his rank was, a matter this size wasn't his to decide alone. He grabbed his encrypted phone and dialed straight through to the #1 commander. "Wait a little longer." The commander's voice came through. "We trust Comrade Chen completely, but remember one thing. No matter the cost, Comrade Shanshan comes home safe. If it means crossing into international waters and going to war directly, we do not back down." That answer settled something deep in Huang Fuzhong's chest. Back on my end, as those Raptors closed in, my senses had already sharpened to a point where I felt the storm brewing in the sky before anyone else did. I walked out of the cabin, calm, and stood on the front deck. I closed my eyes halfway and stared straight into that black sky. Behind me, Shaping Wu and the rest of the team quietly gathered. Slowly, the shadows of those jets began cutting through the clouds. The sheer size of those black silhouettes rattled my whole team down to the bone. Then Shaping Wu's face drained white. He screamed, "Captain, jump!" Now, the next second, a missile came screaming down from the sky like a shooting star, fire trailing behind it, dead set on us. Nobody, not in their wildest dreams, thought Eagle Country would be shameless enough to fire a live missile with zero warning. Certain death, dead ahead, and no time to react, then, boom, my body vanished in a flash. Teleported. I reappeared directly in front of that missile, mid-air. I threw a brutal roundhouse kick. That fire-breathing missile went flying backward like a soccer ball, sailed off into the ocean, and detonated harmlessly in the distance. After that, I kept flashing through the sky, over and over. Whoosh, Whoosh! Missile after missile crashed into the ocean, one explosion after another, tsunami-sized waves rising off the water. The second that first wave of danger passed, I teleported back to the center of the ship. With my bare hands, I ripped the iron flagpole clean off the deck and hurled it like a javelin full force, straight into the sky. My power was so violent it cracked a sonic boom through the air. The lead F-22 didn't even have time to react. The pole went straight through its center. The jet exploded mid-air like a firecracker on New Year's, turned to ash. All of it happened in under 10 seconds. Whether it was Shaping Wu standing on deck, Huang Fuzhong watching from the fleet, or that pale-faced Donald watching live via satellite, everyone turned to stone. As for the pilots flying those jets, their souls basically left their bodies. They screamed, "What the F? Are you telling me this is a human being from this planet? Did we just run into some kind of superhuman?" Those pilots signed up for a paycheck, not a suicide mission. After witnessing that display, every remaining jet turned tail and vanished like they were never there. Against a power like mine, their entire attack turned into a lonely little joke. A few more hours of travel under the fleet's protection, and we finally made it back home to Dragon Country. The second we landed, without wasting a second, I started running class awakenings for the new soldiers. This batch was a little weaker overall, only 2 hit legendary class, since all the top-tier soldier kings had already been pulled out earlier. But here's the real headline. My own secretary Lin Tong was on that list too. Her class came out as a Holy Light Sword Master, a legendary light element sword class, one that could cut down enemies and heal her team at the same time. Another brutal, packed day ended, and I collapsed into bed at midnight. This time, the feedback from hitting level 100 hit different. Compared to my last 3 level ups, it felt like an entire river had come pouring down from the sky straight into my body. This terrifying power wrapped around my entire frame. The space around me twisted with gravity and raw force. Every piece of glass in the room shattered at once. The chaos lasted a full half hour before it finally settled. I pulled up my panel and checked my stats. Every single stat was pushing close to 10,000. Then it hit me. This planet's gravity had zero effect on me anymore. Every cultivation novel I'd ever read about flying through the sky, that was my reality now. On top of that, my constitution stat, sitting above 9,000, had made my body so dense that not even a direct missile could scratch my skin, let alone a sniper rifle. I checked the shop. New packages had dropped alongside the old ones. Cheo's Sword Monster exclusive, Divine Weapon Pack, upgradable Sentry Tier Weapon and Armor Set. Price, 5 billion. Enlightenment Pack, Dao. Using this temporarily boosts comprehension by 100-fold and helps break through the King Tier bottleneck. Price, 3 billion. Ostrich Special Pack, locate every hidden awakening stone across all of Dragon Country. Price, 10 billion. Without thinking twice, I called Lin Tong and ordered 30 billion transferred straight into my account. The Weapon Pack would boost my own combat power. The Dao Pack would help me break through the King Tier wall, though I'd save that one until my class power was fully settled. And that special pack? Non-negotiable. I needed it to awaken more of our people. Thinking about it further, an idea hit me. If everyone was getting awakened anyway, why not awaken my own parents first? Even if they landed a weak class, at least their bodies would get stronger, and I could just feed them experience pills to level them up myself. Once the mythical era arrived, normal people would only gain experience by killing monsters. There was no way I was throwing my parents into that kind of risk. I wasn't some saint. If I had the power to do it, a little nepotism to keep my family safe wasn't exactly a crime. Sure, the mythical forces existed now, but early on, I'd be the one stuck killing every high-level monster alone. Everyone else was still too weak. A head start for my family was only fair. The next morning, August 30th, exactly 9 a.m., I climbed into a completely ordinary domestic car, took Lin Tong with me, and headed for my old hometown, Jingshan. On the way, news broke. Dragon Country's Foreign Affairs Department had issued a new notice. In 12 hours, every border in the country would be permanently sealed. All foreign embassies had to evacuate on schedule. Any overseas Chinese citizens wanting to return home needed to come back immediately, and every last unnecessary foreigner currently living here would be deported on the spot. Anyone who didn't comply would face the death penalty, full stop. And deciding who counted as an unnecessary foreigner, that call belonged entirely to our department. Within seconds, the news hit 100 million likes. The internet caught fire. Dragon Country is done staying quiet. Remember the day they hung a sign that said, "No dogs, no Chinese allowed"? Today, it's our turn. Genuinely satisfying. Not one regret about being born Chinese in this lifetime. While our people celebrated, the rest of the world shook with dread. Deporting 40 million people was the easy part. The real panic was this. If Dragon Country sealed its borders, the entire global economic chain would snap. For some countries, this wasn't inconvenient. It was a death sentence. Their economies couldn't survive without our cheap goods and our market. Riots were coming. And the thing that terrified them most? They still had zero idea what our real plan actually was. Every spy they'd sent had vanished without a trace. By 10 a.m., out of options, Eagle Country and its allied lapdogs issued a joint statement, trying to threaten us. Our Foreign Affairs Department slapped back so hard it shut everyone up. This new rule is the final decision of our entire nation. We don't need anyone else's cheap advice. If you want war, come get it. We're ready to fight. That statement left the foreigners speechless. What is Dragon Country even trying to do? Picking a fight with the entire world? This wasn't like them at all. Global tension was cracking the sky open, and meanwhile, I was casually pulling into my hometown with my secretary in tow. The second my mother, Yeshu, saw Lin Tong, poised, a little older, practically daughter-in-law material already. Her eyes lit up. She grabbed Lin Tong's hand the moment she walked in and showered her with so much affection she practically forgot I existed. My father, Chen Luchuan, slapped me hard on the shoulder, grinning. Well, lying to your old man, telling me you don't have a girlfriend. I rubbed my head. Old man, relax. This is my secretary, Lin Tong. I hadn't even finished the sentence before old Chen exploded. Get out of here. Who do you think you are? Your father served 10 years in the army and I never got a personal secretary. And you, some fresh recruit nobody, gets one? And with that, he smacked me across the head. Lin Tong, sitting on the couch, nearly lost it. In all of Dragon Country, she'd never once seen anyone with the guts to lay a hand on me. I stepped back and said, Old Chen, if you're going to talk like that, fine. No more suspense. Let me tell you exactly who I am. I'm Chen Shan. Right now, I'm the director of the Mythical Special Bureau. The second those words left my mouth, Chen Luchuan kicked off his slipper and lunged at me, ready to whoop me. I raised a hand to stop him, and the next second, fully geared soldiers in combat loadout marched in and set a heavy stone slab right down in the living room. They snapped a sharp salute. Report, task complete. Chief, your orders? Return to your posts. Guard the perimeter, I commanded. Yes, sir. By the time those soldiers stepped outside, my parents were frozen in shock, especially my father. As a veteran, he could recognize real, loaded weapons from a mile away. He knew right then his son wasn't joking around. Seeing the shock on their faces, I turned serious. I stood up straight and said in a firm tone, Comrade Chen Luchuan, Comrade Yeshu, what I'm about to tell you is top secret information belonging to Dragon Country. It stays locked in your heads and nowhere else. Sign this NDA first. Seeing me like this rattled the two of them a little, but trusting their son completely, they signed without hesitation. I told them everything. In 2 days, this entire planet is about to change, violently. Whatever order the country gives, you follow it without question. I came here today so I could get both of you class awakened, ahead of everyone else. I walked them through the whole system, the monsters, the awakening process, all of it. Half of it clearly didn't land. But they understood one thing clearly enough. Touching that stone would give them power. Chen Luchuan placed his heavy veteran hands on the stone. Boom. Within a single second, a stunning pillar of gold-red light shot straight up. My own brain nearly short-circuited. On his very first day, my father had awakened straight into a mythic tier class. Right now, across the entire nation, he was only the second person alive with mythic level status after me. They say blood tells. Old Chen felt it right then. A storm ripping through his veins, mystical knowledge flooding his mind. 50 years on this earth, and he'd never once witnessed magic like this. The second the light faded, I sprinted over, grabbed his hand. Old Chen, what class did you get? Chen Luchuan spoke without even thinking, like the words were pulled straight from his own mind. Mythic hidden class. Enchanter. I froze, thinking it through. Enchanter, a mythic lifestyle hidden class. It could infuse magic into any non-living object, upgrading it entirely. Its power scaled with level and material understanding. My eyes lit up. I'd planned on letting him rest. That plan just got scrapped. A mythic enchanter was practically a godsend for the entire country. Imagine, enchant the walls of our 34 steel cities, enchant my new weapon arsenal. The whole nation's power level would jump overnight. I sat him down on the couch and turned to my nervous mother. Old Yi, your turn now. Yeshu took a shaky breath, placed her hand on the stone. Do I really have to do this too? Fine. Boom. Another terrifying pillar of gold-red light shot toward the sky. From the corner, Lin Tong, usually so composed, so cold, cursed out loud. Holy shit. This isn't a family, this is a squad of monsters. Father, mother, son. All three. Mythic class. Anyone from the outside watching would have assumed I was abusing my position as director to hack the system. Excited, I asked again. My mother answered, Mythic hidden class. Alchemist. I can brew any pill, any potion, and every single recipe just downloaded straight into my head. My mind was basically about to blow through the ceiling. I'd cheated my way into mythic tier through the system. My parents had gotten there on pure luck. Zero shortcuts. Alchemist wouldn't be useful yet, since there were no herbs available. But down the road, experience pills, healing items, all of it, straight from her hands. This was about to become the single most in-demand job on the entire planet. I immediately pulled experience pills out of my pocket and shoved them at both of them. In seconds, they both hit level 40. The moment they leveled up, their bodies fully repaired themselves. Old Yi's wrinkles vanished. Her hair turned black again. Her skin turned young, smooth, girl-like. Old Chen walked up to the mirror and started grinning like a love-struck teenager. No woman alive can resist the temptation of looking young again. I watched the two of them, half expecting a private romance session to break out. I cleared my throat. Director Chen, Madam, focus please. Both of them turned red with embarrassment. I laughed. You two are so easily bought, happy over a little skin. Real strength lives in the soul. At that joke, both of them grabbed one of my ears each and yanked, like I was still their little kid. I pulled my director tone back together. Alright, jokes aside, time to get serious. I straightened up. As director of the Mythical Special Bureau, I'm appointing Comrade Chen Luchuan as head of the Enchanting Department, and Comrade Yeshu as head of the Alchemy Department. Having just seen their bodies turn young again, both of them fully believed my status was real. But going from ordinary villagers to department heads of the country's most mysterious force overnight, that news genuinely rattled them. This wasn't a small position, it came with massive responsibility. They were terrified people would call it corruption, nepotism. Sensing their fear, I raised my voice, tone gone sharp. Comrades, I'm not opening this up for discussion or advice. This is a military order. They'd been ready to snap back at me, but the second they caught that real general's fire in my eyes, both of the old folks' hearts trembled a little. As a 10-year army veteran, Chen Luchuan suddenly stood at attention and snapped me a full military salute. Yes, Chief. After that, I ordered Lin Tong to contact the Bureau and get everything else arranged. The second that heavy, serious atmosphere lifted, our family slid right back into its usual warm chaos. Honestly, old Chen, old Yi, and Lin Tong looked more like a tight-knit family together, and I, their actual blood son, got completely ignored. After dinner, I got my parents packed up, and we headed straight back to Dongfang Base. It was already 9 p.m. That's when Dragon Country's Foreign Affairs Department dropped its latest notice. Just 4 simple words. Dragon Country borders sealed exactly 10 minutes later. A second announcement followed. On August 31st, 8 a.m., 6.8 million troops would be deployed simultaneously across the nation's 34 defense zones, roughly 200,000 soldiers per zone. Every defense zone was to be fully prepared. The second these two announcements dropped, the rest of the world lost its mind completely. Nobody could keep up with how many more shocks were coming. For days now, Dragon Country had been the only thing trending on the entire planet. Think about it. Combine the total armies of the next 4 biggest countries on Earth, and it still wouldn't hit 6 million. And that was just the number officially on the table. Nobody had any idea how massive our real military actually was. Buried underground, Eagle Country, self-proclaimed grandfather of this planet, panicked and called an emergency meeting immediately. Meanwhile, in Sakura Country, Japan, public reaction was raw and real. Every outbound flight was sold out. Cruise ships, private yachts, fully booked. People couldn't even find illegal entry tickets into other countries. They knew if Dragon Country really kicked off World War III, they'd be the first ones wiped out. That night felt like death for Sakura Country. Nobody slept. Back home, nobody slept either. People trusted the country, sure, but there was a quiet unease brewing, because the government still hadn't explained the real reason behind any of this. Morning of August 31st, first light barely breaking, and media had already swarmed every defense zone gate. 200,000 troops entering at once. The sight alone gave chills to old war veterans who'd seen real combat. Then a deep rumble rolled in from the distance, shaking the ground itself. And then, a sight that swelled every Dragon Country citizen's chest with pride. From the far end of the road, an endless line of Type 99 main battle tanks and armored vehicles rolled slowly toward the defense zones. The line stretched as far as the eye could see, no end in sight. Alongside the troops, ordinary citizens showed up on their own, dropping off food and supplies at army camps. That image alone melted hearts across the internet. This, right here, was Dragon Country's true strength, the army's love for its people, the people's trust in their army. September 1st, 9 a.m., the government dropped a fresh order. September 2nd, a full national shutdown. Every citizen stays home. Do not, under any circumstances, step outside. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., the Mythical Special Bureau would hold a press conference with every top leader present. And for the first time, the country's most secretive force, the Mythical Special Forces, would reveal their power to the public. The second that news broke, our own internet users and the rest of the world both went into a tailspin. The country's actions over the past few days had already shaken this entire planet. Now this, the Mythical Special Forces. Everyone was asking the same question. Is this the same force that tore cars apart with their bare hands in Eagle Country? While our citizens waited eagerly for that moment, inside the White House, golden-haired Donald was about to blow a fuse. He screamed, "Shit, what the hell is our intelligence team even doing? They didn't catch news this big? Random people filming on the street are doing a better job than our own agency. Somebody tell me what the hell this force actually wants." Every general in that room exchanged glances and went dead silent, like they hadn't heard a word. Amid all that global tension, I sat in my room at Dongfang Base, waiting for midnight. This was the last time I'd ever sit in front of this mythical game. September 2nd, exactly midnight, my alarm went off, and a deep, ancient-sounding voice came through my phone. Blue Planet's sole closed beta player, Chen Shan. Thank you for your time with us. Please rate this mythical beta game. My eye twitched. Why did this game's farewell speech sound exactly like every mobile game asking for a 5-star rating? Swallowing my pride, I hit 5 stars anyway. The system continued. Thank you for your excellent rating. As a reward for enjoying the game, we're granting you a few internal secrets. Secret 1. The Mythical Era lands at exactly noon, with 0 warning beforehand. Secret 2. Not every monster in the Mythical Era is hostile. You can negotiate, form alliances. Secret 3. This isn't just monsters. There are alien races out there far more powerful, who view humans purely as food. Secret 4. Those alien races won't land here for the first month. Use that time to get stronger, fast. The moment that last line finished, lightning flashed across the screen. A massive flash of light, and the game vanished. Forever, I swung my fist through the air, yelling, "Wait, what the hell? I still had money to burn. How am I supposed to level up now?" No answer came from the phone. Right after, the air around me froze solid, and an impossible surge of power tore out of nowhere, storming straight into my body. My body lifted off the ground, floating, and a blinding light erupted from within me. The shockwave alone turned every piece of furniture in my room to ash. The walls of the next room caved in. Dust and rubble flew everywhere. Even the specially reinforced underground base structure looked ready to collapse. Lucky for everyone, they were far enough away. No casualties. A blast that size brought everyone running. The Mythical Special Forces got there first. The second they got close, it felt like a mountain had been dropped straight on top of them. Level 50, and they were shaking like leaves against that pressure. One soldier screamed in shock. "That's the the director's room. Is the director awakening? Another cried out, terrified. Oh my god, this power is actually terrifying. Every soldier stood frozen, eyes wide, staring at that room. Then Lin Jianyi came sprinting in. The second she saw the situation, she screamed out orders. All Special Forces members spread out, form a defensive perimeter. If this power keeps expanding, the whole base collapses on us. Every member shouted, yes sir, and together they threw up a massive energy barrier containing the debris. Seeing that hold, Lin Jianyi finally exhaled. She turned to Lin Tong standing beside her. Xiao Tong, be honest with me, if you went one-on-one against the director, how many hits could you actually take? Lin Tong's face twisted into a bitter smile. You're overestimating me by a lot. At the level of power the director is releasing right now, if our entire mythical special forces fought him together, all of us combined, he'd beat every single one of us without even raising both hands. Meanwhile, wrapped in golden light amid the rubble, I felt it. Thousands of secrets of the sword Tao pouring straight into my mind. A terrifying force was shattering my bones and muscles down to nothing, then rebuilding them 100,000 times stronger. And then, the divine weapon set I'd purchased materialized out of thin air and equipped itself directly onto my body. Boom. A thunderous roar tore through the air, and I rose out of the rubble, floating midair. Everyone watching froze solid. Standing beside Lin Jianyi, Lin Tong's eyes lit up, her heart pounding hard. Watching me hover there, she was completely, hopelessly smitten. A blinding golden battle armor wrapped around my body. A long golden dragon blade orbited around me, and behind me, the shadows of 1,000 swords fanned out into the sky. In that moment, I looked exactly like some kind of sword immortal. Seeing everyone's stunned faces, I reined in my energy and floated down calmly toward Lin Jianyi and Lin Tong. I scratched my head, a little sheepish. I kind of lost control there for a second. Do I need to pay for whatever got broken? That line broke Lin Tong completely. She burst out laughing and spat out whatever she was drinking. The rest of the special forces cracked up too. Watching everyone laugh like that, nobody would have guessed the world was about to end tomorrow. A little later, they walked me to the training hall. I stood on the stage and looked out at the soldiers. Today I announced, I'm forming a new elite team inside this force. Codename, Red Haze. It'll include Shaping Wu and 68 other legendary class members. Red Haze will be our most elite unit. Their job is emergency response and direct protection of the capital. Everyone else will split into 34 groups after tomorrow's press conference and deploy to their respective defense zones. Every soldier shouted back in unison, yes sir, their voices shaking the whole hall. Nobody had a shred of doubt. There was only fire in their eyes, because by now, I'd basically become a god to them. Nobody slept that night. Everyone was preparing for tomorrow, myself included. This time, I'd personally be running operations from the capital's command center. Part of me was itching to push through my king tier breakthrough, but there wasn't time. The country needed me the moment the mythical era hit. I couldn't afford to disappear and cultivate in secret. By 5:30 a.m., everything was ready. The second my order came through, 800 awakened soldiers filed into transport vehicles bound for the capital. The sun rose. By 7 a.m., no kids went to school. Nobody sat in the parks. Every street sat empty. The entire nation was glued to their TVs and computers. The capital's great hall stood ready, VIPs filing in. Within minutes, the hall was packed, save for the front row reserved for the top 2 leaders. Then the top cabinet leaders walked in, along with me and my mythical special bureau team. The press conference began. In front of hundreds of millions of people, the #1 commander stepped onto the stage, his face serious, commanding. My friends, my countrymen, good morning, he began. You've heard about the new rules we've put in place. First, I want to thank this entire nation for standing with us through this. The crowd below erupted in applause. The commander raised a hand, quieting them. Dragon Country, and this entire blue planet is about to face a disaster unlike anything we've ever seen, but we are fully prepared. Whatever happens, I need all of you not to be afraid. Trust your country. Trust your government. Trust your army. Dragon Country has stood for 5,000 years. We've seen everything this world has thrown at us, and we will win again this time. The whole hall rose to its feet, applauding. The commander made his next announcement. Now, I'd like to invite the director of Dragon Country's Mythical Special Bureau, Comrade Chen Shan, to come forward and speak with you. As he stepped down, the commander shot me a quiet, supportive smile. My heart was hammering. I'd gained this power, held this title for barely 7 days, but stepping in front of the entire nation, live, was an entirely different beast. I took a long breath and walked onto the stage in full combat uniform. This was my first public appearance ever. The second the cameras caught my build, girls watching at home lost their minds. One screamed on camera, "Oh my god, the director of the Mythical Special Bureau is this young? This handsome? I'm done for. I want to have his kids. All 8 of them." Standing on that stage, I felt the full, crushing weight of the responsibility on my shoulders. I looked straight into the mic. "Hello everyone. I'm Chen Shan, director of the Mythical Special Bureau. Most of you are seeing me for the first time, but you're going to be seeing a lot more of me going forward." The public looked confused, but up front, the cabinet leaders, and back home, my own parents watching on TV, had tears in their eyes. They understood exactly how much weight that sentence carried. They were thinking, he's barely in his 20s, and he's carrying the weight of the entire nation on his back. Amid all that confusion, I dropped the next bomb. 1 week ago, Dragon Country Science Academy picked up a strange signal through our interdimensional detector. A new world, called the Mythical Era, is preparing preparing to invade our blue planet. Our scientists have triple-checked this. It's confirmed real. The portal opens today at exactly noon. This was the cover story High Command had built to make things land logically. The hall went into shock. They'd expected news, but not an alternate dimension. People at home nearly fell out of their chairs. The government had been quietly conditioning them for this, but hearing it confirmed, officially on live television, still hit like a truck. Meanwhile, foreign leaders watching the live broadcast burst out laughing. One of them scoffed, "Am I hearing this right? On an official state platform? These people are inventing alien invasion stories to mess with us." I kept going. This mythical era is a disaster, but it's also an opportunity. When that dimension opens, spiritual energy will flood into our world, and humans will be able to awaken new classes, gain real superpowers. Dead silence swept the hall. People sat there thinking, I spent my whole life studying science, and now they're asking me to believe in magic. "I know this sounds unbelievable," I said, "but you've seen our preparations already. Now I want you to look toward Tiananmen Square, so you can witness our strongest force with your own eyes. The mythical special forces. And yes, every single member of this force is fully awakened." With that, I stepped back off the stage and began suiting up in my armor. The hall sat in stunned silence. My last line had already set the internet on fire. One user posted, "I don't have a degree, so I'll just say one thing. Holy shit, Dragon Country though." Meanwhile, officials gathered along the walls of the square, but there was no army in sight, just the usual guards. Then Lin Jianye came sprinting in, fully armored, and snapped a salute. "Mythical special forces are lined up. Chief, awaiting your order to begin." The #1 commander raised his hand. Suddenly, a rousing national anthem began to play, and figures came walking through the sky from a distance, their silver armor gleaming, power radiating off them in waves. This was our Red Haze Squad. They rose above the square, swords blazing trails of light across the sky. Everyone watching turned to stone. Then thunder cracked across the capital's sky. A thick beam of golden light tore through the clouds and slammed straight down. I stood inside that light, clad in golden armor, radiating pure menace. Behind me, the shadow of a sword 100 meters long stretched into the sky. I looked, for all the world, like a god. The fight hadn't even started yet, but my presence alone was enough to make an entire nation feel safe. By 10 a.m., the press conference ended, but it had already shaken the entire world. Black markets scrambled, and the public spirits soared. The mythical special forces immediately split into 34 groups and deployed to their zones. I stayed behind in the capital with my Red Haze team. At exactly 11:30 a.m., a piercing siren rang out across the entire nation. The whole country locked into level 1 combat mode. Tanks, jets, ships, missiles, all locked and ready. Nuclear silos stood open. Tension had reached its absolute breaking point. Even the police dogs had been fed and readied for whatever was coming. Then, on the capital's watchtower, the clock hands struck exactly 12. The sky split open, like something had swung a blade straight across it, and a massive black crack slowly began to open,